this video, we're going to learn how to say should, and we're also going to learn how to put nan before verb to say something is difficult to do. All right, so let's jump into should. This is a pretty simple structure. The word should is yīnggāi. It is an auxiliary verb, like I should go, so that it's like a helping verb there. So it goes where all helping verbs go, is right before the main verb, and it looks like this: 你应该 you should 早一点回去. So 早一点 means a little early, or a bit on the early side. 回去 means go back. This is a simple directional complement. 回 means to return, and 去 means go. So go back. 早一点 and here is kind of like this is like a time phrase, I guess. 你应该早一点回去. So it's just you should a little early go back. Here we have, this is from Offset Learning, 感冒的时候. 感冒 means to get a cold. 感冒的时候. So when one has a cold, 应该 should 喝热水. 喝热水. You know what that means? Hot water. So one should drink hot water when one has a cold. 感冒的时候应该喝热水. So there you have it. It's very, very straightforward until you need to choose how to negate it. And it's a little bit complicated because, here's the reason why. Especially in Chinese, also in English, we can do this in English, but especially in Chinese, 应该 can have two meanings. It can either mean should as in ought to, one ought to do something. Or it can mean should as in it's something is likely. And you can do this in English too. Like it kind of means probably, likely. So for example, if you say, will your dad be coming tomorrow? Oh, he should be, right? It's not usually meaning he ought to be, but it's likely, I think he will be. And you can do the same thing in Chinese. In fact, in Chinese, it's more common to say that, to use 应该 to say that idea of maybe, probably, it should be like that. Now the thing is, when you negate it, the 不 goes in different places depending on what you mean. Do you mean ought? Do you mean not ought? Or do you mean it should not be? Did you see the difference there? And just like in English, I said it'll sound different. So here we go. If the sentence is, the thing we're talking about is playing basketball. 打篮球, play basketball. Or coming to play basketball. 来打篮球. So if I say 他不应该来打篮球, so I say he 不应该, that means he should not do that. He ought to not do that. 他 so 不应该, I'm putting the 不 before the 应该. 他不应该来打篮球. He should not do that. It's not right. There's some reason why it's not a good idea. He should not do that. If I want to say it's not likely that he's going to come, it'll look like this. 他应该, so probably, 他 probably 不会来, will not come, 打篮球, play basketball. Does that make sense? I hope that's something that you can kind of like, it makes sense, and then you don't have to just memorize it as a formula. But the idea is, if you want to say something should not happen as it ought to not happen, then the 不 goes before 应该. 他不应该来打篮球. If you want to say it's not likely that he will come, then it's 他应该不会来打篮球. All right, there's 应该. In our next little clip, we'll talk about how to say something's hard to do. In this clip, we're going to talk about nan before a verb, meaning difficult or hard to do. And we actually, this first example from Offset Learning is actually illustrating what we learned before. We learned the opposite of this. If we put 好 right before a verb, it means that it's easy to do. 这个汉字, this character 很好写 is very easy to write. 这个汉字很好写. Now we can, if we just put nan in place of that, it means the opposite, difficult. 这句话, this sentence or this saying, this sentence, it literally means sentence, I guess, but it feels to me more like the point is what is being said, not how it's said. 这句话很难接受 is very difficult to accept. 接受 means to accept. So it's kind of like saying, I don't know about that. You said something very difficult to accept. 这句话很难接受. Here's another example. 这篇文章很难懂. 这篇文章, this article, so this is the measure word for article. 这篇文章很难懂 is very difficult to understand. So this is very simple to use, but here's the tricky thing. You might remember when we talked about 好, there are certain, when 好 comes before certain verbs, like sensory verbs like taste, smell, to look and listen, that it doesn't mean easy, it means good. Like 好吃 means tasty, 好听 means pleasant to the ear, it sounds good. 好闻 means smells good, and 好看 means something looks good. In the same way, if we say 难 before those sensory verbs, it doesn't mean difficult to do, it means like looks bad, smells bad, tastes bad, etc. So one of the reasons this is really important is it's if you're trying to say that food is difficult to eat in the sense that, it's really tough, you do not want to say 难吃, because 难吃 actually means doesn't taste good. So if you tell someone like the food you made 很难吃, they will be offended because you're telling them that it doesn't taste good. So that is an important distinction to make. 难喝 would mean the drink it doesn't taste good. 难闻 would be smells bad. 难听 would be sounds bad. 难看 would be looks bad, doesn't look good. And I don't even know exactly how to say something is difficult to eat. Maybe you could say, 吃这个不容易. I think that would work, because you're saying eating this is not easy. 吃这个不容易. But I feel like I'm not even 100% sure that that couldn't be misinterpreted. So anyway, there you have. It's a very simple thing. Put 难 before a verb, and as long as it's not a sensory verb like the ones we mentioned, it will mean it's difficult to do that thing. Oh, I should point out a very common one actually. 难说. 难说, it means difficult to say. And this is a very common phrase because it's used in China as an indirect way to say I don't want to talk about something. Like if someone says, how old are you? You could respond 难说. It's difficult to say. Of course, it's not actually difficult to say it. The point is, I don't want to say it. And that's very common. And most people will accept that phrase. And it sounds nicer than 我不想说, I don't want to say. So there you have it. 难